Gordy, you miss Taiwan?
I do. I'd love to go back. 也可以说我1976年在台湾住了1年，我在味道中学教了书，我也很想我的学生们。
Hello everybody, my name is Wes Davies, and today I have a very special video for you. If you remember, a few weeks ago I posted a video with my family back in Canada when we were all drinking Gaoliangzhou. And at one point in the video, I was speaking with my uncle Gordon about how he used to live in Taiwan in 1976. So a lot of people online were very curious about that, and especially why he could speak such amazing Chinese. So I decided that I should give him a call and ask him all about his time in Taiwan more than 40 years ago. So let's get him on the phone. Hi Gordon, how are you doing?
I'm well, Wes. How are you?
I'm pretty good, thanks.
You're in Taiwan and I'm in Canada.
Yeah, I know. We're worlds apart. How is the whole quarantine going over there?
It's going okay. Canadians are locked down. We're all working from home. We go out for social distance walks. We can go into grocery stores, a number of people at a time. It's okay. I really have no complaints. Other countries have had it far worse.
Yeah.
And Taiwan is really becoming well known for having handled the whole crisis really well. So congratulations.
Thank you. Well, I mean, everyone in Taiwan has been doing their part. So have you actually been seeing that on the Canadian news media about Taiwan?
Yes, it has been picked up. We're talking about when we're going to begin to open up again. And so newspaper reports have been talking about countries that have moved farther towards opening up than we have and how they've decided to do it. I know that Taiwan never closed its schools. Our schools are still closed, but we don't wear masks to the same degree that people in Taiwan do. And of course, we're not an island, so there's been more infiltration from across our borders. But yes, people are talking about Taiwan and what a terrific job they've done with their really high-tech healthcare system.
They really do have a little bit of an advantage being an island, but also I think their leaders have done a great job.
And they were really clear at the beginning that it was going to be difficult and it was going to require everyone's cooperation. And of course, Taiwan is a unitary government. So the national government made decisions and everybody followed it. Canada is a confederation where each province makes its own decisions about healthcare. So some provinces were faster than others. PEI, Prince Edward Island, is an island. And like Taiwan, it's really been able to control its situation really well. But I really have no complaints. I'm doing fine.
That's good. You're not getting cabin fever too much?
A little bit of cabin fever, but I go in every day and I cycle as hard as I can on my very heavy bike.
Oh, good.
And I go shopping. And I work at the University of Toronto, which has moved entirely online. So I'm busy, I'm fine. And in my spare time, I'm studying Mandarin.
That's right. That's something I wanted to talk to you about. Because actually in 1976, you moved to Taiwan for 1 year?
For an academic year, yes. So it was like June 76 to August 77. A little more than 1 year. I graduated from undergraduate, University of Toronto, in May 1976, doing a BA in English with a number of courses in Chinese, and then I moved directly to Taiwan.
So you were already learning Chinese before you moved to Taiwan?
Yes, I started actually, before I started university, when I was a youngster, I found a book in the library that was called Fun with Chinese Characters. And it showed regular Chinese characters for children, you know, the character for big and little and so on.
Dash,
and
how?
that was fun. So I played with that a bit. And then in university, although I majored in English literature, I always took courses in Chinese. At that time, 1976, anybody with a Chinese background will know it was the Cultural Revolution in China. So nobody could go to mainland China, and I laugh about it now, but our Chinese was entirely how to read Chinese documents, not how to speak Chinese, because there was no way you could go to China and speak
And
Chinese practice. So we were reading these, very boring documents. I'm amazed that I had the stick to it.
The fortitude.
To continue. Anyway, I did that, and then I went to Taiwan right after I graduated to teach English at a school in Taichung called Viator High School, 味道中学. And through you, recently, I've been put in touch again with some of my students, and it's been fabulous. It's just been fabulous. They were 13 years old when I was last in touch with them.
Wow, we'll get to that a little bit later. So, going back to your time in Taichung, I'm sure in 1976 it was a completely different story. So what was a typical day like for you back then?
味道中学, Viator High School was a very good high school, and I had several classes every day. I had to prepare for the classes, and the other teachers were really generous in making me welcome and in helping me learn how to teach English, because I was a native speaker, but I'd never been trained in teaching English as a second language. Anyone who went through the Taiwanese school system then knows how demanding it was. I taught 初二, and they had to cover a huge curriculum in the course of their academic year, from very simple English up to really quite advanced. And I would speak in Chinese, my broken Chinese.
So you were primarily teaching in Chinese?
I was primarily teaching in Chinese, yes, because the students didn't understand enough English to follow my instructions. So sometimes I would throw in a sentence in English, please stand up. And they would be thrilled because they understood what I said.
Okay.
But otherwise, I spoke my really bad Chinese and explained what they had to learn in the textbook. They were really diligent, as Taiwanese students are. I think that I know they liked me because I joke around with them. And of course, I couldn't pretend to be an expert teacher because my Chinese was so bad. I'd go to write Chinese on the board, and I'd forget a character, and they'd have to come up and correct my characters.
Sounds like they were teaching you almost as much Chinese as you were teaching them English.
But since I've been in touch with them again, some of them have learned really good English, so something must have stuck.
Right.
It was a marvelous year for me, very demanding, as it was for them. Taiwan was a very different country then. And the school system was very, very different. Taiwan was, I would say, a developing country then. It wasn't very poor, but neither was it rich. A lot of my students worked extremely hard. They would go home at night and help their parents in the workshop and in the small shops, and then do their homework after that. And they'd come to school exhausted. They had a huge sense of national purpose. Taiwan was not a democracy, and I learned really quickly what I could and could not say in class. And I tried to observe those boundaries as a foreigner visiting their country. It was a tremendous year. Some of the older students in high school I became quite close to, and I got the chance to visit them in their hometowns, some of them quite remote farming families, still living in Japanese-style houses. They probably rotted away now, but they were Japanese-style tatami wooden houses.
Oh, neat.
It was really something. It was a fabulous experience, and people made me feel very, very welcome.
Can you think of any funny stories we can talk about?
Yes. Chinese names are usually 3 characters, and especially in those days, classes were very large. So I had, dozens and dozens of students in various classes in Chu'er, and I just wasn't able to remember their full names, but I could remember their surname. So I would call them by their surname, Mr. Wong, Mr. Lee, and they thought it was hilarious. Nobody had ever called them that.
Right, you're probably the first adult to actually call them Mr., right?
Exactly, yes. So I thought it was hilarious. And we joke around, and I tell jokes at the beginning of class for a couple of minutes. And then I would say, okay, that's it. Now we have to start class. And they would immediately settle down, and we'd start studying. Because, of course, in those days, no other teacher ever joked with them. So they thought I was hilarious.
So how old were you at this point? About 22 or so?
I was 22. Yeah, I just graduated from Canadian University, so I was 22.
Did you find living in Taiwan back then really improved your Chinese from what it was when you arrived?
It did. I should have been more outgoing. I should have done what you have been doing, to your credit. I should have been out there when I wasn't teaching, going to the markets and speaking with local people and so on. But I was too shy. And I probably didn't make the best use of my time. But it certainly did improve. Mm-hmm. Although when I came back, I stopped studying Chinese. And it wasn't until actually 2011, many decades later, that I went back to the study of Chinese. So what I'd learned, I had largely forgotten. As I'm sure you realize, it's really easy to forget Chinese.
Sure. If you're not hearing it and using it every day, of course.
All the words sound the same.
So you actually did return to Taiwan?
Yes, I decided in 2011, in my middle age, that I was going to close the loop. That I was going to go back to this subject that I'd studied decades before and had not touched. And I was going to see what I could pick up from my Chinese from decades before. So I got a leave of absence from the University of Toronto, and I went to Taipei, and I went to Furen Daxue, which is a big university, that had a school for learning Mandarin, and I put myself through that process. It was extremely demanding, because all these students were younger than I was, and they had better memories than I had at that point. And they were preparing for a big national exam. So I went and I worked and worked and worked, and I got myself back on track. And since then, I have been studying Chinese as a hobby. I'm still not very good at it.
Can you introduce yourself in Chinese?
当然可以啊。我还是说的不那么好，但是我姓戴，名字叫戴思武，是我老师给我的一个名字，不是我自己给我的。我还是每个星期学中文，我的同学们比我都年轻，他们都比我好，但是我还继续学习，我还继续一天可以回去台湾。再看我从前的同学们，可以跟他们讲我们在一起的时间。It would be really tremendous to see my students again after all these years and find out how they've done.
Well, that's been something that's very fascinating to me. Is I met up with you over Christmas. And we drank some Galeongjo together. And I just happened to put that on my YouTube channel. And then suddenly we're getting all these messages and emails from your old students from 1976 and 77 who were absolutely amazed to see you on the internet drinking Galeongjo after 40 years.
No, it really was amazing. It was actually at my house.
Right.
I had a gathering with my family for Christmas. and you had brought a very high quality 高粱酒. And as we were talking, you said, well, Uncle Gordon, you used to be in Taiwan. Say something in Mandarin. So off the top of my head, I said, I used to work in Weidao Zhongxue. So obviously you're very popular in Taiwan because somebody from Weidao Zhongxue picked this up and made the connection. And it's been fabulous. People have been contacting me through Facebook, and I've been emailing, and they sent me photos, and it's really been heartwarming that they still remember me after all these years.
I think you're not easy to forget, though.
Well, I know I was the first foreigner ever to teach them. And I didn't just see them for one day or two. I mean, we saw each other every day. Some of them sent me pictures of the end of the year because Viator High School, very unusually then, had a swimming pool. And I'd forgotten, but we organized a swimming party together. Oh, yeah. So there are pictures of me with all these kids in the swimming pool. I'm throwing them around and so on. I'd forgotten that detail, but it was wonderful to see the photos. So as I say, it's really been moving, and I'm so gratified to have, as I say, closed this loop on my younger years.
Perhaps the loop is not closed yet, because I'm sure I and all your old students would love to see you back in Taiwan again.
I would love to come back, seriously, and I'm seriously planning it. And I was speaking with my younger nephew, one of my younger nephews the other day. He's only 19, and he would like to come with me as well.
Oh, that would be great.
I can persuade his sister, who's 16 now, to come with me. That will make me work on my Mandarin all the harder.
Yeah.
So that I can actually make myself understood when I land back in Taiwan. I'd love it.
Maybe we could even organize a reunion of sorts with your old students.
It would be very moving for me. I'd love it. And I'll find out more about how you've been doing in Taiwan. I mean, you have a whole teaching career in Taiwan. You've made tons of friends, I know. I watch your videos. You've seen far more of the island than I ever did. Of course, it was harder to move around when I lived there.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was like a 5-hour drive from Taipei to Taichung. It was a major journey. Travel was difficult, and that just shows the huge progress that Taiwan has made.
No, the infrastructure here in Taiwan nowadays is incredible.
所以这个疫情过去的时候，我希望我可以来台湾跟你在一起，我们可能可以看我中学的同学们，我们也许可以请他们都在一起，我可以跟他们说到我们在一起的时间，我们可以讲故事，我们在一起的时候怎么样呢？他们毕业以后怎么样呢？我的人生怎么样呢？一定是很重要的一个时间，我也期待我们都在一起。
Awesome.
All I can say. Forgive my mistakes.
Well, it was so great talking to Uncle Gordon. Thanks for making the time.
I watch your videos. I think they're tremendous. And I look forward to seeing you in person before too long.
Absolutely. Hopefully next year.
Okay, bye now. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye Uncle Gordon. Thank you.
再见，再见。
再见。
再见。
All right, everybody, that is the video. That's the interview. Thank you so much, Gordon, for taking the time to do this with me. And everyone else, please like this video, consider subscribing to my channel, and I will see you next time. Let's hope Uncle Gordon gets a chance to visit Taiwan before too long. Bye, guys.